So those are the football picks. I'm not scared of you boys this year.
You should be.
Wasn't scared of you last year, but you're a new addition to this year.
I am.
JC.
I'm excited about it, too.
So we'll see.
I'm excited to be here the whole time.
We'll see how this works out.
Yeah.
All right, Robbie K., the Sportz Krew, brought to you by Greentown Tavern, O'Hare Midway Limousine, Johnny's Poorhouse, G Media Wraps in Waukegan Harbor and Marina. It's Robbie, No Frank in studio, Jay-Z, and Young Buck is in the studio. As we go live to the Greentown Tavern Hot Wing Hotline, where we welcome in new member to the crew, we'd like to welcome in Irene Michaels. Hello there, Irene. How are you?
Hello there. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Look at those guys did it in unison. They practiced all night long.
And we hit it.
You.
We nailed it.
All
nice.
night long for you, Irene.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, first of all, Irene, thank you very much for your time and being on Robbie K. and the Sportz Krew. It's Sports to Extreme Adventures, and you've had a life of fun adventures and many different things. One of the things that stands out to me, well, especially now, we're going to talk about being in a, what is it, Jackie?
Equestrian.
He's going to be the guy to say that word for me.
Equestrians.
I don't want to mess it up. But is looking at some of the stuff that you've done in your life, General Hospital. You were on General Hospital back in the 1990s. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Oh, it was a great experience. Very, very cool experience. And I was on there for a couple of years, and I was living in Los Angeles. Many people think that show is taped in New York, but it's taped in Los Angeles.
Is it really? Because I grew up watching General Hospital. We called it GH. Back in the day, I did not realize it was out of L.A. I thought for sure all those soap operas were out of New York.
Yeah, I know most people do, but I remember even as a kid when I used to watch that show with my parents, never dreaming that I actually would be on it. So it was pretty interesting for me in my life.
So you've done many things from the modeling side. You obviously been on the television. You've even dated some very well-known people. And, we talked a little bit off the air when we talked earlier on the phone. And I asked you if I could bring this up, and it's in a timely fashion, the passing of Burt Reynolds.
Yes. He was my pal. He was my friend. And when I was living in L.A., I dated him for a small while, but we really were good friends. And so it was very sad to hear of his passing, but he had a good life. Was
his personality very similar to the characters that he actually played?
Very much. Very easygoing, laid back, fun, always joking, always smiling, very friendly, very open. Always wanting to lend his hand to anybody around, or if they wanted an autograph, he was always available for his fans.
And, you said very funny and always joking. And, since his passing, there keeps being, different pictures that are circulating of him at, the comedy stores and stuff like that with, guys like Richard Pryor. There's one that's Richard Pryor and Robin Williams, and he's in the middle doing a set. He just barged his way on stage and said, "No, guys, I'm going to be funny," to Richard Pryor and Robin Williams. And they said, "Okay, go ahead." Yeah. That's a facet I didn't know about him. I just thought he was a man's man. I didn't know that he was...
That he had some humor in him?
I mean, I knew he was funny, but I didn't know he was out there slinging jokes off the cuff like that.
Yeah.
That's intense, man.
Very cool.
Yeah, no, he did. He wanted to be a comedian when he first got in the business, but then, of course, he took a different direction.
Well, we were better for it. Him and Bruce Willis. It turned out pretty good for him, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, why? He wanted to be a comedian too?
He was a comedian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Speaking of going into...
I can't see Bruce Willis being a comedian, although he is pretty funny at times.
Yeah, very true.
Speaking of going in different directions, yourself, Irene, equestrian and philanthropist. You say it's more than just a hobby riding these horses. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with it and how you are now.
Well, when I first encountered my first ride on a horse when I was, I think it was 11 or 12 years old. From that day forward, I knew that I had a love affair going on with the horse. I just loved animals, and I certainly loved the horses. And at a very early age, I owned my own horse, even though I grew up in the city. I was able to keep a horse in a barn out in Morton Grove, where I learned how to ride. And sort of the rest is history. I've been riding my entire life. I now have thoroughbred horses. I had half-lingers, and I just love the animal. They're regal, they're elegant, and they're dangerous.
They are dangerous, and that's that was the question I was just going to bring up is when it comes to equestrianism, when it comes to riding the horses in competition, what is the best? I guess what's the best breed? Because you're not using the same horse that you're using for jumping as you're using for racing, right? Or are you?
No, no. Usually the thoroughbred is for racing.
Right.
You'll see them in the racetracks, and then the Lipizzans are dressage horses because they can jump and they have beautiful movements and
Now,
they dance. And
what was that word that you said? Crissage?
No.
dressage.
What is that?
It's a movement. It's sort of like a musical movement where a horse can walk sideways, and the rider gives all the signals with their knees.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. That's very
Very
cool.
trained.
Is that what you
rider.
saw?
That's what I just saw with the Temple Lipizzans.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, cool.
Correct. Yes, you saw a really good demonstration of that. Those horses are outstanding.
Oh, awesome.
They come from Austria.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so
and
what?
then we have,
Yeah. So what do you use?
well, I now have thoroughbreds, but I also like quarter horses and pintos, and all the breeds are just, they're all great. I think Arabians are a little fiery for me. I rescue horses. I just rescued a couple of horses off the racetrack recently, and I then ran a fundraiser called Horses Without Humans, and it was to adopt these horses out and give them a good home, because many times racehorses don't go to good homes. Sometimes they go on a kill wagon. Sometimes they just are let out in some farm area and not taken care of. So if I could just save one horse, I feel like I've done a great job.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I'm sure that is the truth, because unfortunately, the window for a thoroughbred is very short. And horses live longer than 3 years.
Yes,
so when
they
they're
do.
so when they're done racing, it's good to know that there's people like you out there that's trying to do something to house these horses, because it's not like bringing a dog or even a parrot into your house. You know what I mean? Like, it's a horse. They eat a lot, and you need a lot of room for a horse. I mean, hungry as a horse is a real saying.
I wish I could bring a horse in the house. That would be an all-time first.
What about a mini horse?
Yeah, I would love that too. No chance, but I'd love it. Maybe we have to start building houses where we can house our horses inside.
Yeah, it's just bigger houses, right?
Yeah, right.
Just make the
Bigger
sinks
houses.
really big or whatever. You'll be fine.
Now, horses themselves, obviously they've been around, but the horse has been a companion to man and gotten them around as transportation for years and years. And in regards to that, Irene, doing what you're doing with the equestrian and being a philanthropist, it's very cool to hear this kind of stuff from you. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, what is the most champagne moment that you get out of when working with these horses? When is that excitement going, wow, that's why I'm doing it?
Well, I can tell you the one incident that just recently happened where a horse was brought into the barn, and apparently the person who owned the horse was very cruel to the horse, so you couldn't go up to the horse. He would move his head around. He'd run in a circle in his stall. He wouldn't accept a treat. He was just a mess. And little by little, with care, talking, stroking, little bits of treats, one at a time every week. 3 months later, the horse now you could mount it. It will take treats. You will put a bit in its mouth, and it's a very good horse. And you would not have known that if you just let the horse stay with the owner that it had. So that was very rewarding to see that this horse came alive, had social graces with the people and the public, and was now willing to receive. And it's very touching to me.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. And on that note, I got to ask you, like, when it comes to horses, you have to, I don't know, but I hear about how you have to break a horse.
Right.
They're not like dogs where it's like, I guess it's easier because they're man's best friend or whatever. A horse is a giant animal, and
they can run you over.
Right? What's the hardest? And they're dangerous, like she said. What's the hardest part about breaking a horse?
Well, I wish that I could answer that question intelligently. I have never actually broken a horse.
Okay.
But I think when you see how they kick and buck, even to get in the ring with a horse, it's scary. So
it is scary.
It takes a certain person to first put the rope on, even to be able to be next to the horse, let alone get on him. So maybe that would be my next venture.
to cowboy it up,
There you
huh?
go. Yeah.
Oof.
Well, it sounds like you've done a lot in life, Irene. I want to thank you very much for being on Robbie K and the Sports Crew. Irene Michaels, equestrian and philanthropist. What's that?
And what's the name and the website of your fundraiser one more time for us?
It's called Horses Without Humans.
Okay. And we can find it on like your Facebook or .com?
Yes,
or?
you probably can go to my website and see that, which is Irene or ionthescene.com. ionthescene.com, and we'll have all information about that.
All right, thank you so much.
Irene Michaels, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, very
Appreciate
cool.
your
so
time.
much. Thank you.
All right, guys, that wraps up another week. Want to say thank you very much to Irene Michaels right there for being on. Brent Novoselsky. And
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears!
More coming up next week. Yeah, baby.
Lost you.
9 o'clock. You're listening to AM 1050 WLIP Kenosha. Streaming live at WLIP.com. WLIP.